All right, what's up? Greetings. How y'all doing? Welcome back to Blackbird News. Everything is connected. I'm trying a little bit, something a little bit different today. I'm going to upload a video. I know it's kind of weird. It doesn't mean that I'm going to stop doing live streams at all. I'm just playing with different formats, and I don't know. I've been wanting to kind of do this for a while, so that's what's up. Nothing crazy happening, and I will definitely be doing live streams this week. I just want to mention that Gnawbone Unhinged. Y'all know who Gnawbone is, or maybe you don't, but gave me a coffee after hours. Thank you for the coffee. I appreciate you, Gnawbone. Gnawbone said thank you for relentlessly doing BN every day. All right, so we're just going to cover a couple of things today. And one of those is George Mombio did a post that got kind of a lot of attention regarding 3D printed meat, which is very weird indeed, right? I mean, it looks like meat. It looks like, and people brought up in the comments, and I thought, rightly so, they brought up in the comments that if you don't eat meat, why would you want to eat something that looks like meat? Which is a good point. And then somebody else posted something here. Sorry for the scrolling. Something here. Where is it? Why do vegans want their food to look like meat? For the same reason people use dildos. Looks the same, feels the same, fills a hole, no hearts are broken in the process. So that might be a reason why you want to eat meat. I don't know. I'm a vegetarian. I don't really eat meat. I don't have a big desire to eat meat, but once in a while, everybody's doing a meat thing. Sometimes you want the texture, I guess, the consistency, whatever your reasons. Anyways, George Mombio wanted to eat some meat, and he had some 3D printed meat. And we'll read his post last night. I ate my first 3D constructed steak made entirely from plants at the great Choo Choo restaurant in Stockholm. It's astonishing. The texture is exactly right, and the taste is excellent. This is before we have precision fermented proteins, encapsulated fats, and heme. Okay. I don't know. Not a lot of people are very happy about this, and I'm not happy about this either, because I think trying to find this, yet another technological fix to a problem with nature. And I understand the point behind this. The point behind this is that we're going to stop using all the land and stop abusing the animals in order to feed all the humans. Do you see the disconnect there? We're trying to solve a problem of scale with a technological means, and that's going to probably encourage other problems to come about from this technological answer to this, right? And a lot of people pointed it out. Well, he went, I'll just quickly go through this. I thought the texture would be the greatest challenge of all, and the last thing they'd get right, but it's already there. He says, minus the animal suffering, habitat destruction, river pollution, etc., change is coming. It will be massive and disruptive. It will bring phenomenally cruel and destructive industry to an end, and shrink the environmental footprint of protein-rich food to a dot. Reading the responses, there are two main objections: the price, the ingredients. Let's take these one by one. Price, yes, it's expensive. It's right at the top of the price curve. New tech, new product, pioneering a whole new approach. New tech for early adopters is always expensive. Think of computers and phones. The price will plummet as it scales. Ingredients, yes, there are several, including possibly allergens for some, but this is intermediate step, proof of concept. The same structural technology can be used to do something really exciting: turn animal proteins and fats produced by microbes into meat. Yay! This permits a radical reduction in both ingredients and processing to make products with the same biochemical composition as meat. And once the technology is mature, it becomes cheaper. Eventually, it will undercut animal farming. It also bypasses the need for cell cultured meat. These are quicker, easier, and cheaper technologies. Okay. Doomer Cafe points out, I'm extremely skeptical of techno-optimistic market-based solutions to the ecological overshoot in climate change, which he sums up very nicely. The problem is one of scale. The problem is not with eating animals or raising animals or farming animals or all the environmental destruction that it brings. Animals exist in nature, right? Plants exist in nature. All of these things are part and parcel and are conducive to a healthy world, right? And I think everybody knows that. The problem is that the scale at which we're doing it. So, is the problem animal agriculture or agriculture itself, or is the problem the scale at which we're doing the agriculture? Some people have a problem with the scale at which it's done. And what does that mean? That means we're trying to do too much of it, and that is what's causing the destructions. How we do less of it? Well, I guess we need to talk about why we need to feed 8 billion people on the planet. And somebody says, "Oh, you flew to Stockholm to eat the meat." He says, "I came here by train." Blah blah blah. So let's look at some of the other problems quickly with 3D printing, fake meat, etc. Just well, first of all, let's look at this story. Beyond Meat was found to have. People are saying that there are other issues with creating fake meat, whether it's lab grown, 3D printed, whatever. Beyond Meat, factory riddled with mold and other dirty conditions, leaked documents show us. This is from a few days ago in the New York Post. One of Beyond Meat key factors. I know this is not the same as lab or lab use. This is the same as 3D printed meat, but it's fake meat, right? It's this new revolution in how we produce meat. One of Beyond Meat's key factories was reportedly riddled with mold. One of Beyond Meat's key factories was reportedly riddled with mold, bacteria, and other health-related concerns, according to leaked evidence provided by a former employee. A leaked internal document revealed Beyond Meat products manufactured at the plant have tested positive for the harmful bacteria Listeria at least 11 times the second half of 2021 and the first half of this year, Bloomberg reported on Monday. The document was reportedly provided by a former employee who was worried about conditions in the plant, which is located within an hour of Philadelphia. 2 other ex-employees confirmed that bacteria had been found at the facility. The outlet also obtained internal documents stating that various contaminants, including string, metal, wood, and plastic, had been found in Beyond Meat products produced at the first plant as recently as last December. Bloomberg published photos from inside the facility that were provided by a former employee. You want to see that? Oh, Lordy. Anyways. And also, going back to what George Mombio said about heme, this fake blood that they're using for these meat products is not necessarily fully tested. And people don't know how good for you or bad for you it is. That's the part where it starts to get a little gross for me. I don't, the blood part, I'm not into the blood part of meat, and I'm not into the fake blood part of meat. But it sure makes it tender. Anyways, that's one of the issues with this meat. Is it any cleaner? Is it really any cleaner? Who's making sure that it's cleaner than the regular meat you get? Of course, yes, we know that animal farm, factory farms, and some of the ways that a lot of animals are produced for food is very abusive and disgusting. Right? Not all animals are grown in a free range setting where they get naps and hugs and a story at night. Uh, Here's another problem: how sustainable is lab grown meat? We're talking about lab grown meat. Uh, Lab-grown meat is a type of cellular agriculture that grows protein from a culture cell by cell instead of farming it. It is also called genetically engineered or cultured meat, as well as the tongue-in-cheek test tube meat and stem cell steak. Stem cell steak. Say that again. No animals are killed to grow meat in a lab. Instead, cells are taken from animal biopsies and grown into in vitro cell culture. Grow animal tissue labs use similar techniques to those used in regenerative medicine. The difference is that they're generating it from scratch. This involves intensive work to feed and maintain the cultured meat. Companies like Memphis Meats, which has been working on cultured meat for years, dubbed the facilities where they grow their meat products carneries. These facilities contain big metal vats called bioreactors with piping instead to circulate a watery goo that helps with tissue engineering. The goo consists broadly of amino acids, fats, vitamins, minerals, proteins, sugars, iron, insulin, oxygen, all of the nutrients needed to encourage cell growth. That sounds delicious. The other thing is I'd like to know how nutritious this food is. Is lab-grown meat environmentally friendly? That's just a thought that just popped out of my head. Because so much is still based on modeling, we don't have hard numbers for environmental impact yet. But some early studies estimate it may create more problems than it solves. Oh, we're solving climate change, but we're creating these other problems. This is the problem with techno fixes to these issues that are correctly issues. I'm not talking about that story. Sorry. Did mean to tease you with some other stories. The downsides of lab-grown meat. Animal agriculture accounts for more than 14% of global GHG emissions caused by human activity, but lab-grown meat may, in fact, worsen climate change. Although it's expected to produce more CO2 than the more potent methane, CO2 takes much longer to dissipate. Plus, the inferred cruelty-free nature of lab-grown meat can be misleading. Goo needed to culture the meat currently requires fetal bovine serum, which is obtained through a process that raises ethical concerns. What? What are these ethical concerns? It is harvested from bovine fetuses taken from pregnant cows during slaughter. FBS is commonly harvested by means of a cardiac puncture without any form of anesthesia. Fetuses are probably exposed to pain and or discomfort, so the current practice of fetal blood harvesting is inhumane. Great, save the animals. Cure climate change. Due to many variables, production is very expensive. When cultured meat becomes available for wide consumption, it will be pricier than conventional meat for some time. In 2013, this would have been $300,000 from one burger, but now it's closer to $3,800 per pound. This is, by the way, I think a little older article. It is older because they haven't gotten to approving it yet, and this is from 2021, so only a year ago, and it was recently given the go ahead, the green light from the FDA. And we know how much the FDA cares about you. We know how much you can trust the FDA to do the right thing and do things for the sake of health and not just for profit. That's why I love the FDA. 10 disadvantages of 3D printing. So we're talking about 3D printed meat. But there are problems with 3D printing in general. High energy consumption. it uses a lot of energy. 3D printing technology is expensive, limited materials, right? Uh, and if you're talking about just regular 3D printing, the material of choice is plastic, which, right, that's bad for the environment. 3D printers aren't that user friendly, harmful emissions. 3D printers used in an enclosed space such as homes can generate potentially toxic emissions and carcinogenic particles, according to researchers at the Illinois Institute of Technology. Too much reliance on plastic. 3D printers are slow. Production of dangerous weaponry, copyright infringements, manufacturing job losses, etc. But again, are we going to? Is this 3D printing revolution going to save the Earth in the future Blade Runner world that we all live in? Okay, well, that's the end of that section. I want to cover this idea of 3D printed meat. I personally just don't think. I think there are a lot of just very simple, common sense, logical answers to not destroying the planet. Right? If we want to call it fixing climate change, I'll call it not continuing to destroy the planet, which means not doing all the things that we're doing to destroy the planet. It's very kind of simple, but we, in our search for answers, what we like to do, we humans like to do, is make things ever more complicated. Well, we can make a whole new technology in order to fix this problem that we created with technology. Can maybe we might need to take a different road, a different tack. Just my thoughts, my opinions. What do you all think? Let's go to the next story, which is in China, people are mad. Why are they mad? Because China, 3 years after the beginning of the pandemic, almost, China is still doing extremely harsh authoritarian responses to COVID. They're still doing these extremely authoritarian lockdown measures, locking down entire cities, locking people into apartment buildings, locking people into iPhone factories. People are, just being herded like cattle. They're being watched and monitored all day long. They're being barked at by robot dogs and drones. It's not a happy place. It's not a fun place to be. And when you do stuff like this, what is eventually going to happen? People are going to get upset. Because when people have nothing left to lose, they're going to get upset. Anti-lockdown protests spread in China as anger rises over zero-COVID strategy. Beijing students shout, "Freedom will prevail," as levels of disobedience unprecedented in Xi era. This is in The Guardian, so they are at least covering this on the computer. I don't know if you'll see this on the nightly news. Probably not, but I could be proven wrong. People opposed to China's stringent COVID restrictions have protested in cities across the country in a big way of civil disobedience on the mainland since Xi Jinping assumed power a decade ago. Protests triggered by a deadly apartment fire in the far west of the country last week took place on Sunday in cities including Shanghai, Beijing, Chengdu, Wuhan, and Guangzhou, according to footage shared on social media in defiance of a series of heavy-handed arrests of demonstrators on Saturday night. In the early hours of Monday in Beijing, two groups of protesters totaling at least 1,000 people were gathered along the Chinese capital's Third Ring Road near the Liangma River, refusing to disperse. In an unusually bold act that appeared to indicate the levels of people's desperation, a crowd in Shanghai late on Saturday night called for the removal of the Communist Party and Xi during a standoff with police. Chanting "Communist Party, step down. Xi Jinping, step down." Chinese people usually refrain from criticizing the party and its leaders in public for fear of reprisals. I'm going to say, I wonder why. The protest erupted on Friday in Urumqi, the regional capital of the far west Xinjiang region, after footage of a fire in a residential building that killed at least 10 people the day before led to accusations that a COVID lockdown was a factor in the death toll. Well, let's pause for a second and look at this footage, and we've seen this before, this is not new, of Chinese officials welding the doors shut on apartment buildings. An apartment building in Chengdu in China, the government is welding the entrance door to the apartment building to enforce the lockdown. If you do not have enough food at home, you will starve. Some people are committing suicide, jumping out of their windows. Um, anyways, sounds of welding. And that certainly should be frightening to anyone who sees that, witnesses that, and especially if you are the occupant of said apartment building. Shanghai, China's biggest city and global financial hub, crowds returned to Middle Urumqi Road, named after the Xinjiang capital, for a second day on Sunday, despite a series of widely documented arrests the day before. Police closed the street at non-local traffic. Non-local traffic and made arrests, according to videos online. A photograph, which quickly went viral on Sunday night, appeared to show police removing the Middle Urumqi Road Street sign. On Saturday, people in Shanghai chanted, "No PCR tests, we want freedom," followed by rounds of repeated calls for freedom. Freedom. This echoed a call of a lone protester in Beijing in October. Widespread in-person protests are rare in China, where room for dissent has been all but eliminated under Xi, forcing citizens mostly to vent on social media, where they can play cat and mouse games with censors. Well, this is the result, is going to be the result that you get when you do this to people. And we've already seen in the West serious revolt and rebellion against stricter COVID measures, right? And this is, well documented. It is part of the reason why many COVID policies are being reversed or backtracked or now acknowledged to be not helpful, right? But in China, they're pretty much taking an anti-science tack. They're not taking in the science. They're just saying this is how we're going to deal with it, and you deal with it. And what that's going to lead to is much unhappiness, double much unhappiness. And who knows where this will go. This is interesting coming, day after I read, we heard a report from Dr. Fauci testifying on Congress saying that they modeled their original lockdown policy on China's policy. And there was, people were not happy about that. Many states in the United States didn't even go for that, or rejected that outright. Some countries rejected the lockdown policies, others embraced them wholeheartedly. But most of the Western countries that enacted lockdown policies did not, couldn't keep that going, right? Because the protest was too vocal, too loud. And the more that they kept going down that road, the more that they were going to incite the anger of the citizenry. And this is what China is now facing with their policies. But I think it's safe to say that this policy that China is enacting, and the policy that was copied in the West, these policies, it's now being known and widely disseminated that these things were not about health. We're not about science. We're not about caring for you. They were about how much power, how much control can we gain by enacting these policies. I mean, this seems to be the underlying motive. And I'll leave it at that. But I'll show a few more videos of some very serious scenes of protests. And I mean, there's Twitter is awash in video of protesters in China, and People are not happy, and this is again widespread. The gates are coming down. I don't know where they're trying to get into or who's behind the gate, but the gates are coming down. And one more I'd like to show you. People tear down barricades in Wuhan. Anti-lockdown protests are spreading to more and more cities in China. And this is looking like a pretty large crowd and getting larger. This is all very interesting, right? People are on the edge of their seats. They're seeing, they're watching what is going to happen here. I mean, I can't imagine people of any country that were enduring that kind of hostility from its government that they would stand for that for long. At some point, you'd have to say that I can't do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. Last thing I wanted to talk about today. The WHO have released a plan for a global digital vaccine passport for any vaccine. This is unelected technocratic control aided and abetted by subservient governments. No one voted for this. And it is interesting. We talked about this a little bit the other day, but it is interesting that these vaccine passports are being planned for, and there's a large push on the table from the WHO for to enact this kind of like global vaccine passport. But again, in the West there are varying degrees of resistance to anything like this. There's already been quite a bit of resistance to things like this in Canada and everywhere. People don't want to have this vaccine passport. Italy, right, is another place where they're pretty much done with the vaccine passport idea. Now in China, of course, the vaccine passport is I'm assuming it's in full effect, or something like a vaccine passport is in effect. So why are they going forward with this thing that people don't like and are resistant to? And it looks like China now is becoming resistant to these kinds of stringent measures. Where are they going with this? Why are they doing this? Why are they planning for this, even though they know it's quite unpopular? Even though they know a lot of things are being rolled back, these policies are being rolled back, and there are lots of entities, agencies, governments are admitting to maybe doing the wrong thing in the face of COVID earlier on. I don't know. We'll see where this goes. And last thing I wanted to show is this from David Wolf. Communist wannabe Okay, so this isn't communism, by the way. I mean, yeah, I guess you could say I have an issue with people calling things that are not communist. This is authoritarian, right? The government says, this woman is saying, as of today, and I don't know how recent this is. This is to today. I don't know how recent this video is. As of today, a bank or other financial service provider will be able to immediately freeze or suspend an account without a court order. This is what they're doing in Canada.
As of today, a bank or other financial service provider will be able to immediately freeze or suspend an account without a court order. As of today, a bank or other financial...
That's not good, right? That can't be good if your bank is subject to be frozen, your assets frozen, locked, for for whatever reason, the government just deems necessary, right? Without a court order or court proceedings or charges filed or something, said like, hey, you did the wrong thing. This is why we're doing this. No, we're just going to freeze your bank account. This isn't communism, okay? So I really wish that people would read books and stuff. And, you don't even have to read a book. Just read Wikipedia. This isn't communism. This is fascism. It's authoritarianism. And, I know people like to conflate the two, but that's not what's happening. Communism is a different idea. So I wish people on the right would get that together. But this is fascism, and fascism creeps, and it creeps under a red flag or a blue flag, and it seems to be the direction that we're going. Hopefully, people will get upset about this enough to stop it. Will they? Stay tuned for the next exciting episode of As the World Burns or Black Bear News, whichever you like. So thanks, guys. Appreciate you all. See you on the next one, and peace out.